Welcome to a quick overview of the new Catalog UI. First thing you'll notice is that the URL is slightly different. Instead of search standard, it is search catalog. We automatically will route you here if you just go to /search. It'll load everything and take you to the page. First thing to note is this top bar. Over here is the navigation. If you click it, it will open up. Next thing you'll notice is this help icon. If you click that, it'll highlight areas on the page where help is available. So if I click here, it'll tell me click to bring up the navigator. You can exit this by clicking anywhere where there isn't highlighting, or simply pressing the escape key on the keyboard. Next icon is the settings icon. If you click here, it'll bring up your settings. There's the theme, which controls your zoom. There's your notification settings, which controls whether or not they persist across the session. So if you close the browser, do they go away? And when do they expire if you aren't making them go away after each session? Next, you'll find settings for the map. This is the layers. You can turn them on and off. You can adjust their transparency. Next, you'll find settings for your visualization. You can change between 2D map, a 3D map, a histogram, and a table. The 2D map is there so that in older browsers that don't support the 3D map, which is driven by WebGL, you can still have a map view, which is driven by Canvas. That's particularly helpful in a browser like IE10. Next, you have your settings for what is hidden. Right now, I don't have anything hidden, so nothing's there. You can close this by clicking anywhere. Next icon you'll see is the notification icon. Right now, it's lit up telling me I have an unread notification. If I click there, you can see that I got one today, 10 minutes ago, and it was an upload of 121 items. All 121 were completed. It's 100% done. Now if I click here, it will route me to that upload and I can view those results. If I click here, it'll get rid of this notification, or if I click here, I have the option to clear all notifications that happened today. If you had one that happened yesterday, it would show up under the heading of yesterday, and you can clear those out in the same manner. Now remember, those aren't going to persist across sessions unless you tell them to. Next, you're going to see who you're logged in as. Right now, I'm a guest, so nothing is displayed. If I click there, I can log in. If I was already logged in, it would show who I was, my email address, and it will allow me to sign out. Now, this is a big divergence point. If you are logged in, things are persisted between different stations. So you can go to a different station. You still have all your settings for your theme, your notifications, your visualization, etc. You still have all your notifications. If you were just guest, these things are all saved to your particular machine on that particular browser. So you want to make sure that if you would like those things to be persisted through the server side, you need to be logged in. And if you don't care, you're going to use the same browser, you're not going to clear out your browser information, you can go ahead and say guest. Next thing you're going to notice is that this new UI is all centered around the idea of a workspace. And workspaces contain both searches and bookmarks. And they allow you a way to compartmentalize relevant searches with each other and relevant bookmarks with each other. The top part is where you can go to create a new workspace. This is a blank workspace. These ones are templates set up to show you how to do specific things. This part is workspaces that already exist and that you have access to. Now I mentioned that you can log in, and if you're logged in, these workspaces are persisted to the server, which means other people could possibly access them if you set them up to be accessed by them. You can display these and order them by title or by last modified. You can display them as a list instead of a grid. I'm going to keep it as grid for now. And there are various actions you can take on a workspace. You can save changes you've made to one. You can run searches, all of them that are within it. You can cancel all the searches that are currently running. You could open this up in a new tab and start looking at it. You could view the sharing settings you have, and I mentioned those before. If these are things you are persisting and they're not just saved on your machine, meaning you're not a guest, then you can start sharing workspaces and collaborating. You can view the details for these workspaces. That's especially useful if you want to look at the history of a workspace. Maybe you want to undo something somebody else did when you were doing collaboration. You can duplicate this workspace, so say you had a workspace shared with you, you wanted to make changes, but you didn't want to share those changes with the other person. You can duplicate it and start modifying it to your heart's content. You can subscribe to get updates from this workspace and the queries within it, and you can delete the workspace. So let's go ahead and make a blank workspace. We'll come back and look at this previous workspace in a second, but let's click blank. When we click blank, it routes us to the workspace view for that new workspace. This is an actual link, so if I were to refresh the page right now, I will get sent here. If I were to send this link to somebody else and it was a server-based workspace, they could also view it as long as they had permission. So let's go ahead and refresh and see how that works. So as you can see, it routed me directly to that workspace. Now when you first come into the workspace, and it's a new one, it only has the name new workspace. You can go ahead and rename it to whatever you would like. You can say my custom workspace for cool things. Make sure you save your workspace. Since these are collaborative things, we don't auto-save for you. That way you're not accidentally blowing away somebody else's results, and you're not filling up the history log with every little change you make. Now, if you try to navigate away without saving, it'll warn you, so watch. I try and refresh, it'll say, hey, changes you've made may not be saved. You want to continue to do that. You say, don't reload. You save. Now refresh. And your save was persisted. So, as you can notice, the top bar is going to be roughly the same on each of these routes you go to. You can still get to the navigator. You can click here to go back to your main workspaces view. And you'll notice that this popped in down here. Now down here, when you have this icon, which is the timer, it's telling you where you've already been. And it'll show you your most recent workspace you were in and the most recent results you've looked at. So let's go ahead and go back. What will change between pages is what goes here in the middle. For this certain route, it is the workspace name and the actions you can take on a workspace as you saw on the previous page. So let's look down here at the new thing. On your right, you have your visualization. On the left, you have everything pertaining to what is in that workspace. You have the searches, and you have the bookmarks. Here's where you would go to review results of searches. Right now, I don't have anything in this, so let's go ahead and add a new search. As you can see, I can type my custom name. I'm just going to click Save. If you just click Save, it's going to automatically do a wildcard search. It's not going to run anything automatically, but if you did want to have things be run automatically and not have to click Results to go and see that, you could always add a search from the results page. That way you can have the results as quickly as you want. Now, let's take a look at what happens over here. The moment you go to results, if you only have one search, or let's say you add a search from results, it's going to run it automatically because there is no other choice. So it's trying to make the smart decision for you. But if I had multiple searches before I went to results, so let's say I made search 1, search 2, search 3. Then when I go to results, it's going to ask you to select the query that you want to look at. None of them have been run, so the moment you click one, it's going to go ahead and run it once for you. You get the results. If you go back and we come here again, it already has the results, so it's not going to run it again and hit the server. It's going to use what it already knows. If you want it to hit the server again, you're going to have to click here and click Run. Let's talk about that for a second. These are all the actions that can take place on a search within a workspace. You can run them, you can stop them if they're taking too long, you can delete them, and you can duplicate them in case you wanted to make a slightly different search. You can also tell them to search specifically for things that have been archived or specifically for the history surrounding a search. I'll go into that in more detail in a bit. So let's look at the other things you can do with search. You can either have them be a basic search, which is going to be all of these ideas banded together, so your text you're searching for, the time range, where it's located, what type it is. And at the bottom, these are kind of separate. These are settings on the overall search. how you want it to be sorted, what sources you want to hit. If you want to do a more advanced search, you can click Advanced, and you have a lot more control about what you want to look at. You can OR these things together. You can have nested queries. You can do everything you could on the basic page and more. So you can do like a location search, draw on the map. You'll notice point radius is now available on the 2D map, as well as a new type of search called line. And this will do a buffered area around it. Right now it's only 1 meter, but I can take it up to, let's say, 200 miles. I think it's quite big, and it'll search for everything within that. You'll notice you still have access to those overall settings for the query, for the sorting, and who you want to hit. Now, as soon as I click Save, I get access to a few more things. I can look at the settings on their own, in case I don't want to modify what I'm querying for. And I can also have access to this thing called notifications. Notifications come into play when you're trying to get updates on a query. So you could say, every 30 minutes, go and tell me what has updated relevant to this query in that 30 minutes. If anything gets found, this is going to light up over here. You can click here, and then when you click that, it'll take you directly to those results that were found. This status is going to be relevant to the query if it's already run. So if I look at status for this one, it's unavailable, it hasn't been run yet. If I click this one, I can see the status on that. It's simple to add and remove queries. You can delete them. I can, let's say I want to duplicate this one. There it is. Go ahead and delete that. Let's go look at the results page. The results page has a lot of information on it. You can start filtering these things on the client side. So this is very similar to the advanced querying. So let's say I want to pare this down a little bit more. It'll tell you what's hidden. It'll tell you what's active, so you aren't confused in case you do a new search or you go over to a different search and for some reason nothing shows up. You can start sorting these on the client side if you want. If you remove it, it'll go back to what the sorting was before you did that. And you can change this between a gallery and a list view. The gallery view will simply allow you to have a thumbnail there. In list view, it won't show up. Let's go ahead and remove this filter. So I have a lot of results plotted on the map over here. You can start selecting them. When you select one, it's going to pop open an inspector pane where you can look at a summary of the details of the metacard, or you can click here to see all the details of the metacard. And you notice on both pages I can edit. I can upload a new thumbnail, I can change the date, and if I change the date, let's just do that real quick. I'll go ahead and say, update the modified, you'll notice it's going to update. Let's do something closer because it's doing a human readable date. Let's say 2017. I'm going to say this was actually updated in the future, so you can actually see that update. So it says in 6 months this was modified. So these two tabs are very similar. If you go to the History tab, you can see all the changes that have been made. Let's say, you know what, that doesn't make sense. I don't trust this guest user. I'm going to go ahead and revert to that old version. Now you notice that new history pops in, and the details have updated to be what they used to be. Next is the Associations tab, so you can now associate items between one another. This one doesn't have any existing notification or existing association, so I'm going to go ahead and associate it to the 1992 Summer Olympics. You can view this in a list form, which is what I'm doing right now. You can add as many as you want, you can delete them. Let's go ahead and save that. You can click this to follow it to a direct link to that result, and we'll look at that in a bit. You can look at this in a graph form if you prefer. You can do your editing there. So let's say I don't really think so. I think it's related to that. Or maybe I don't believe that at all. We're just going to leave it alone for now. We'll follow this link in a bit. The Quality tab will show you any issues with the attributes. The Actions tab is very similar to what it was before. You can export these things, thumbnails, you can export the metadata. Then you have the Archive tab, so you can say, I don't want anybody to look at this anymore, so you archive it. When you do that, it's not going to show up on any further search results. So if I search it no longer appears. You notice I don't have access to editing anymore. All I can really do is restore this thing. So this is a good point to look at that extra query feature in the interactions where you can search for archived things. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. And you'll notice that it shows up. It won't show up in a normal search. I can also look for historical items, which I saw on that history page. You can see I have 5 different histories. If you want to start comparing these, you could bulk select them and see what has updated between them. So obviously the IDs are different, the versions are different. And it looks like the modified date is what had changed between each of these. So let's go ahead and go back to the archive view. Let's unarchive this. The moment we unarchive it, we get access to do everything we used to be able to do. We can go to the summary, you can start editing again. People can see the result sets again. The next tab is overwrite. This is if you want to keep the meta card what it is, but you want to overwrite the content. The other thing you're going to notice is that you have the ability to bookmark this thing right here, and you have actions on results. You can find that bookmark at the top, in case you don't want to click the star. You can hide these things from future searches, and if you do that, that's that last setting that was in here. Now you can click here to route directly to that meta card and see what it is in case you want to know before you unhide it, or you can unhide everything, or you can unhide a single thing. You can expand these things, so that's what I was talking about when I said you could go directly to the view, and you can download them. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like if I'm selecting multiple items, which is a new way to look at your results. If I select more, I can look at a bulk details view, and I can edit them in that form. If there's multiple values, you can choose between one that's already existing, or you can create a custom value using the data picker. Let's go ahead and cancel. You can bulk archive things. And these actions now relate to both. So if I start here, I've just bookmarked both, as you can see. Or I can start over here if I just want to bookmark individually, do these things individually. Let's say like I wanted to hide both of them, or unhide both of them, or download both of them. And one thing to keep in mind on the download is that if you are blocking multiple windows from opening, you're not going to get both downloads. You can only get one at a time. And that's a browser choice. So make sure you don't block that sort of thing. Next thing to take note of is these are paged. And so if I close this, I saw the results over here. I can go between pages and it'll update on that visualization. And if you get confused, once again, you can click this help icon and get help anywhere. Click here and find out what that does. Click here and find out what that does. I can even have this open and then click here and find out what these do. The other thing you'll notice is that we have a color right here. This only corresponds if you've run multiple searches. So let's go ahead and run this search as well. Now you'll see that there's both a blue and a green line. That tells you that you've run a search where this result has popped up twice. So it appears both in this one and this one. And this can let you know whether or not you have overlapping searches, and whether or not you need to kind of focus them in. Let's take a look over here at the visualizations. You'll notice that the map now has an ability to cluster things. So if you have a lot of stuff that's close together, you can cluster them and see them that way. It's based on your perspective. So as you zoom out, it'll cluster them into greater groups. Zoom in, it'll uncluster them. If you click a cluster, it's going to select everything within the cluster. Over here, you can see it got selected. You can unselect one thing in there, and you'll notice that now the text is in black. That's just letting you know that only a few things are selected in there, not everything. So there's 3 states to a cluster. There's nothing selected, so white outline, white text. One thing selected, or more, and you'll get the black outline. And if everything in there is selected, then it's completely black text, black outline. And it can uncluster at any time. things are still selected, you flip back and forth. And I mentioned that this clustering is done by perspective, which you can't see as much on the 2D map. So let's go ahead and switch to the 3D visualization. And I'll enable clustering over here. What I mean by it's based on your perspective, I mean if you start changing your perspective like this, it's going to cluster based off that. It's not distance-based, so it's very helpful. The other thing to note is that you can see the faint outline of where these results are on a convex hole. And if you select something over there, and then you change your visualization, you're not going to lose that selection. They're still going to be selected on the other visualization. So all the selections are synced across visualizations. And that allows you to do things like select things on the map, and then go to the histogram and see where those appear. So you notice I'm grouping these things by title, and I can see my selections right there. And you can click on the histogram as well. Shift-click to select swaths, Control-click to add single items to the selection, or unadd. The other visualization we have is the table visualization. This shows them in the table view. Right now I'm hiding some columns. So if I click Hide Show Columns up here, you can see I'm hiding the title. I can unhide that. I'm hiding all of these. I can unhide some of them. If I click Save, it's going to automatically update the table. You notice that the headers stay with you as you scroll. You can also rearrange these columns. So say I want the thumbnail at the top, all I have to do is click, drag that to the top. It'll automatically go update that for you. I know we mentioned sorting over here. This comes into play again on the table. So if I sort, you can see that it's letting you know that things are sorted by title over here. But you can also click here to just quick sort by that column, and it'll update your active sort for you. You can add as many sorts as you want, so long as there's a tie, it'll go to the next one, the next one, the next one. Let's go ahead and remove the sorting for right now. And this works just like the result preview, where you can shift-click to select entire swaths, Control-click. So I can do that over here instead if I wanted. I can shift-click, Control-click. And like I said, when you go to another visualization, you don't lose that selection. Everything remains synchronized. You can see that these are now black dots. I can group them up and start making clusters and see where those results fit on the map. Like I mentioned before, this is where your layers information live. You can turn off layers, you can turn them on. So let's look at the final area, which is the bookmarks area. If I click there, I have 2 bookmarks right now. It's going to go ahead and tell me that they were found in these searches. You won't see that information if no searches have been run. So let's go ahead and look at how that looks. So now I don't get that colored bar. But if I go up here, I click Run All Searches, because I want to know what my bookmarks overlap on. I'll come back over here. And now these are updated with the colors that the searches correspond to. And you can do everything you can in the results list in this bookmarks area. So you keep slicing and dicing your results. Now if you want to look at a single result, this is where the expand metacart view comes into play. So if I click here, it's going to route me directly to the metacart. And this is a link that I can reuse to come back. So let's go ahead and refresh the page here. It's going to route me directly to that metacart. You can use your back and forward buttons just as you normally would. Or you can use the routing within the app. Now, if somebody else has access to this result, you can send it to them and it can be routed directly here. Similar with the workspace again. It shows you what workspace you're in right there, and this shows you the name of the metacart. And these are each of the tabs that you saw when you would normally select the metacart list. The visualization is shown over here, and you can pretty much do anything you would normally do, but you can focus on a single result while you're doing it. Let's click here to go directly back to that workspace. And let's go back to my workspace page for a second. Now you'll notice I have two things here. The top one is going to be the most recent workspace you were in, and the second one is going to be the most recent meta card. You can click those to auto-route to them. It is handy. Let's look at how you can also route to notifications. If you have a notification over here, you can simply click it, and it will route you directly to that result set. You can see the top bar up here is telling you it was 34 minutes ago and it was an upload. And once again, these are links, so you can refresh the page and come directly back here. Just make sure that you are persisting that notification, otherwise it will go away between refreshes. Now, if I were to refresh the page right now, it's going to do that. You notice I can't save these to workspace because I'm not actually currently in one. So it's as easy as going back to the workspace page, going into the one that I want to make, going back to my upload, and bookmarking the things that I want. Once again, on this page, you have access to everything you would normally have in the results view, filtering, sorting, and your visualization view. Let's go now to the upload page to look at that. Here you can drag and drop files, or you can simply click upload. So I'll drag some real quick. And you can keep dragging, or you can click to upload a few more. Once again, you can clear these out. You can get rid of ones since I didn't really want those ones. And then you can start uploading. As long as it hasn't uploaded yet, you can still remove it. And you'll notice a few things. One, that this bell icon has lit up, telling you have an unread notification. If I click that, you can see that upload that I'm on right now. Tells you what's happened a few seconds ago, it gives you the details. And you can click it just like you did the other one to route directly to it. If we stay here, we can click these to route directly to them. So then you can use your back button to go back and forth. If you click here, it'll route you directly to that upload. And if you click new, you can start making new uploads. So I'm going to go ahead and delete one of these. And actually, you know what? I'm going to clear everything for today. I don't want anything else now. If we go back to workspaces, see searches, and the previous one that I made. Remember when I set up notifications, I said every 30 minutes tell me about new things. If it does find something, just like you saw in the uploads, this bell will light up and you can click to go directly to those results. That concludes the quick overview of the Catalog UI and all the features that it has. If there's any questions you have on something, please don't hesitate to contact us. Thanks for watching.